Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of Arketi Live in 25. I'm Star Vanderhaar. I am Chief Operating Officer and Vice President here at Arketi Group. You're joining us, so hopefully you know who Arketi is, but just in case you don't, we are an Atlanta based integrated marketing and public relations firm serving B2B technology clients. So I hope you're jazzed about today's episode. We're talking about bespoke events, and I'm excited to introduce my co host, Mr. John Hansen. John is Senior Field Marketing Director of Iron Mountain. And I have been so blessed in my career to have worked with him not once, but twice. We date back over a decade, having worked together, first at Recall, formerly here in Atlanta, and they were then acquired by Iron Mountain, where now I'm working with John yet again. We've had a variety of projects that we've been lucky enough to work together with, primarily with an award-winning program, the Online Education Series, as well as now why we're here today, Iron Mountain's Roadshow that is currently rolling out across North America. John, thank you so much for joining us, and please say hello.
Hello, everybody. First time doing one of these, so I guess I'm a little nervous, but hopefully it'll be a good conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
So, just to level set, y'all have probably attended these before, but similar to a webinar, right? We've got a little bit of housekeeping to talk about. So, as we dive in today, definitely want to hear your thoughts, your reactions, your questions. So, feel free to drop those in the chat. We'll try to address them as we go, but then definitely circle back at the end. Sound like a plan? All right, so let's now dive into how to get your event and field marketing strategy right. So, one of the ways is major trade shows, right? They typically are great for driving brand awareness, but we have found, and especially working with John, that many B2B marketers are adopting smaller, curated events to really drive deeper conversations and faster movement through the funnel. Interesting tidbit that I wanted to introduce to today's session is just this week I was lucky enough to attend a Gartner webinar. And there, the Gartner analyst was talking about a survey that they had fielded to CMOs, global CMOs. And in the readout of survey findings, I was very intrigued to see how important events really came up in terms of they were the top in terms of where CMOs are putting their spend for offline channels. And they found the CMOs commented in the survey in particular how really super effective they were in a variety of channels. So not only brand awareness, but also in terms of the consideration and the loyalty stages. So thought you guys might be interested in hearing that little data point to jump off today's conversation. So now what we're going to do is dive a little bit more into Mr. Hansen's knowledge. You know, you all might be thinking about executive dinners, field activation, or maybe brand experience, all in terms of a bespoke event. And John is going to help us unpack those and learn a little bit more. So let's dive into some specific questions. So John, you and I both have a good number of years of experience, right? 20 plus years, and we've watched the event landscape evolve. It was certainly one way before the pandemic. Pandemic hit, people went remote, and then now we're seeing a lot more of the bespoke event that we're here to talk about today with a wide range of formats. So would love your thoughts. What is driving that shift, do you think, towards the more intimate high-touch experiences? And then how are you also then balancing that with the larger scale efforts?
Yeah, so let me start by saying I still see a need to have the big trade show experience. So when we're thinking about our event mix, it's to be more balanced between impactful trade shows that we really see value in, but also it's other types of experiences, Star, that might be the smaller, high touch, intimate gatherings. And I think you've got to, for each of those event types, you got to have a goal in mind that might not be pipeline. It always comes back to pipeline, but it might be hey, we want to really meet these or get in front of these top 10 customers. So what type of percentage of those top accounts can we get in front of? Or if it's a new product or service, can we introduce those through new services to those new audiences and really try and get some lead capture there? And you also talked a little bit about what are the drivers on changing events, and you mentioned COVID. When I think about the changes due to COVID, some of the obvious, people went remote, they adapted and thought about new ways of communicating. But what that really did is kind of evolved how companies operate, both on the consumer side or the attendee side, and then the exhibitor side. So I think a lot of P&Ls cut back on T&E, so you don't see in the P&L anymore that room for the 3-day trip that goes to Las Vegas and the hotel stay and all that. More likely, they're going to do a cab ride across town and do a half-day event or something like to that degree. So I think that's cut back on some of the volume. I also think that exhibitors and companies have shifted their approach because you can get information from so many different places now that you don't have to wait for that big trade show and do the big reveal of a product or meet with your suppliers all at one time. Companies are even now starting to not wait for the trade show, but to launch their products all throughout. So, I think those factors have shifted the way people operate. And so when we look at our mix, we really want to have a balance, but we tie that back to our strategy.
Very cool. Very cool, John. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, then let's dive in a minute. So we did talk about the juxtaposition a minute between the trade shows and the bespoke events. So let's drill down a little bit more on those bespoke events in terms of sales enablement and kind of, like, what do you think marketers should be thinking about when they're trying to align their different event formats to maybe specific goals, buyer intent, or the stages in the funnel? Just like what Gartner said a few minutes ago that I kind of quoted, there was the consideration phase, there's the loyalty aspect with current customers. But what do you think in terms of what should marketers be thinking about when looking at those, aligning those different formats?
Yeah. Loaded question.
Whoops, sorry.
No. Loaded in meaning that I could take that in so many different directions. I think it comes back to if you're aligning your marketing and or events to a corporate strategy, I would start there and say, what does the company need or want? I was talking about if you had a new product launch, that might be a very big need. So your goals of an event or even the event type that you would select could be very different than a big trade show where you're one of 1,000. So can you get, at a smaller bespoke event, can you get the mind share because it's your event and, get 10 CIOs in a room and talk to them about a new IT-based solution for whatever, cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. That could be a real win for a small event, whereas you might get 500 of your customers at an industry or association trade show. And then, so the goals of that event really could be relationship, loyalty, check in on new projects and things that they might be working on their org. So setting it to the strategy and understanding the needs of the organization on the different parts, and then setting your events to coincide with those. I jokingly say it, but sometimes we do random acts of marketing events, and we really want to pull those in and tie them to it to be very much aligned to our strategic pillars, and those pillars are aligned to campaigns, and events should be an output of those campaigns. So that's the way we're thinking about it. It's a little new for us. We're still getting used to it, but at least that's the way we're trying to approach it.
Well, I bet, and so I'm going off script here a moment. I bet the random acts of kindness, so that's not only appreciated externally, right, with the prospects, but also internally with your marketing and sales teams, I bet too, just taking a different approach to things.
I think so. marketing dollars are not getting more. We're trying to figure out how to do more with less, or at least more with the same. So for us, we really are honing in on setting events that are set to goals, and then how did we measure against those goals to
Mhm.
then validate whether we want to do that event again, not do
Yeah.
it, or to even pay more into it and do it bigger next time.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Absolutely.
really, really important. Setting that expectation also helps with our leadership team and our sales or whoever is attending the event, so that they know going in what's that event briefing, what are our goals and objectives, and
Hmm.
so we're all trying to achieve the same thing while we're at the show.
All in lockstep. Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, drilling down then a little bit more. So, starting to build out the program. Didn't know if you had any particular tips and tricks that you might want to share with today's audience, or your approach on selecting content.
Mm.
Anything, any learnings that you've had in rolling out these events that you might want to share with today's viewers.
Uh, sure, yeah. We were actually just talking about this one internally the other day. Sometimes, a lot of times, when our sellers receive a lead from an event, they don't understand, or they haven't been provided with the context of why they're receiving that lead, and more importantly, what they should do to follow up.
Hmm.
So we're working on, and hopefully getting better at, trying to not only provide that front end context when we do the lead pass and say, explain, if we were at the trade show booth and we captured those notes, sharing those notes with the sales rep, but also what particularly that person was struggling with, or if they saw a demo, what were the challenges they brought up. So it's better capturing of the notes and providing those notes to sales so they have a context on which to follow up. But then also from a content standpoint, providing them, for example, if they attended one of our panel sessions and we talked about, a white paper, whatever, um, following up with either A, that white paper, or B, some residual content that helps further the conversation. So our goal would be provide sales with not only the reason and the why to follow up, but also the materials in which to follow up with. So I wouldn't say we perfected it. We're far from that, but we're trying to get better at it. And so that, to me, that's a good tip. The other one is that we used to, we get the list of attendees, who came to the booth, who went to the panel session, those things. And it's an Excel spreadsheet. We would put it into our system. We would assign it to the reps, and we would push it out en masse.
Yep.
We're even getting better at that, in that we're saying, okay, which one of these are really hot leads that need to be followed up on immediately with a sales style phone call, and which of the rest of those should go into some sort of active nurture stream where they maybe get a few more marketing touches before handing off to sales. So a couple of things that we're trying to do, and do them a little bit better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you'd mentioned this a little bit ago. So, if you don't have any more to add on, I understand. But
Mhm.
measuring success and really making sure generating value, which was again something that came out of the Gartner webinar that I attended. Anything you have in terms of your perspective on how we as marketers can make sure we're just not doing events, but really driving value for those that are attending.
Yeah. And I think I'll respond by saying, even internally, the different audiences that would be paying attention to events. So, for example, our leadership team wants to make sure that we're driving value from our events. Are we getting that return on investment based either on how we're measuring it, or pipeline as a default? So we definitely look at that. We look at, from our product teams, they really want to see, hey, are we putting our message and our solutions in front of more and more people, the right people? So we can measure that, and show that type of value to them to say, not only did we do X number of demos at the event, but it was to this level, whether it's C level or director, VP level, and so on. So we definitely want to be able to track those types of things. For sales, I obviously we talked about it a little bit, that it's for them, it's very much, do I get a lead that's actionable,
Right.
right? I think from a marketing standpoint, and when we split out those leads like we're talking about, our goal is, what's the next best thing to do for that lead or contact? So it might be to put them in the nurture, as I said. So can we increase our engagement levels? If it's an existing opportunity, let's say it's a hospitality or event, or an event where there's customers and we're not trying to grow pipeline, but we're trying to accelerate pipeline. Can we measure people that attended events, their pipeline closes, the sales cycle is shorter or faster, I guess. So we're measuring those types of things as well.
Well, fantastic, John. I love how you've carved it all out based upon different perspectives. Hopefully that's helping today's viewers. I know it's good insight for me, so thank you.
Yeah.
Possibly our last question here, in terms of just keeping an eye on time and making sure everybody can get back to their day. So let's talk about, well, what happens after the event? You talked a little bit about that in terms of the spreadsheet and whatnot,
Yeah.
but any more of some of the learnings in terms of your most effective strategies in terms of follow-up that you've seen to really keep that momentum going?
Yeah, one of the things that we were not very good at, and we're getting better, is that often marketing looked at their job being done once the event was closed and the leads and or contacts were passed over to sales. And because we know that we had some of those lead pass issues and context with sales and sales follow-up, we're putting in a rigor where we are doing a regular event, post-event follow-up with sales to review the leads, review progress, see if there's additional content or different ways in which we can support sales. So we're looking at those in 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day increments. We really want to measure our ROI based on what type of pipeline we got 90 days from the event. So
Makes
we're
sense.
putting those steps in place. Another thing that we're doing is we're following an event with an event. So we have a pretty robust online events action program in place. But one of the things that we're trying to do is, if we have a topic or a message at an event, we want to do 2 to 3 weeks later a follow-up webinar that continues the conversation, maybe even takes it down one notch from thought leadership into emerging trends, or emerging trends into business challenges and those types, and really trying to tie that second touch of the event attendees and contacts that we met to see if we can again continue to warm them up. So it's following an event with an event and basically delivering more content, hopefully value-added content.
Fantastic. So in a way, so when you and I were prepping for this conversation, we had talked a little bit about, what makes events and experiences stick. And that sounds like that's what has been a success for you, ironically.
Well, we're just starting it, so we're testing it. But yeah,
Okay.
I think we have success with online events. So if we can continue that success and tie them together and have we know that we're good at that. So we think that would be a natural enhancement, and bringing the two together essentially is taking two programs into one.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, John, just as we're wrapping up here, any thoughts that maybe I didn't ask about that you wanted to make sure today's viewers heard about? Any last thoughts from yourself?
Just probably restating some. I think aligning to the corporate strategy is the right place to start. I think having an idea of the different event types and having a right balance of those. We use a Forrester benchmark on the spread of our event and event types. And then we measured that against our events from last year to say, how did we compare? And in some cases, we actually did better in certain event types than what they recommended. So we might do more in one area than they recommend and less in another area. And so, knowing your program and then having something to compare to, whether it's your last year or a benchmark, I think is always a good value, because it gives you the ability to really understand, but also to demonstrate to others how you're trying to add value, especially your boss.
Especially your boss. Don't forget that. That's right.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you, John. Again, I want to thank John Hansen, who is Senior Field Marketing Director of Iron Mountain, for joining us here today on Arketi Live in 25. Hope you all had a great time and walked away with some good tidbits and tips and tricks for your next Bespoke event. Please, we'd love to have follow-up questions or thoughts, ways to improve this. So feel free to drop us a line if you'd like. We would welcome that. And probably no surprise, this is our 5th episode, so we've got another one coming. So please follow our page so you can keep track of our calendar and the topics that are coming next. But until then, John, again, thank you. And next time, everyone, I hope you can join us. Appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next Arketi Live in 25.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity.